Hello, thank you for joining us today. Welcome back to Jen and Dan's Natural Healing with Plants. I'm Jen, your health educator, coach, and master herbalist.
And I'm Dan, your exercise specialist and fellow master herbalist. Today, we're delving into the world of natural approaches to health, and we've got a specific topic that's been buzzing lately: erythritol.
Yeah, so erythritol is gaining popularity as a sugar substitute. It's actually not new. I know it's been used for several years, but it's important to talk about how it affects us and our health. There's some new studies that came out today about erythritol, so that's why we wanted to talk about it.
Yeah, Jen, it's a sugar alcohol. It's found in fruits and vegetables in small amounts, but a lot of people use it because it's low in calories and it doesn't affect your blood sugar. But there's new studies finding that it might be a problem.
Right, right. It's usually in like blends. So like I
Mm,
know I like to use monk fruit.
yeah.
And erythritol has always been touted as being safe for your teeth, not spiking your blood sugar, doesn't add to calories, which is why a lot of people have been taking it. But it's usually combined with other things. And so, like, I love monk fruit, but usually when you buy monk fruit, it has erythritol mixed in there as well. And so I know for me, I always look for monk fruit without erythritol, but I know a lot of people out there are still using erythritol, which Dan, tell us some things that could be issues with using erythritol.
Well, of course, some people it might make them bloat, like it may affect their digestive health, but that's not really the biggest issue they're finding now is we talked about on this channel before that when you take something out of the whole, like an herb, you take a chemical out of an herb and you isolate it, then the body doesn't know what to do with it. So it seems like the same thing is happening with erythritol now. They're taking it out of the fruits and vegetables, and people are using it like as a one-to-one substitute for sugar. So a lot of people bake with it. So if a recipe calls for a cup of sugar, they'll use a cup of erythritol, which is a lot of erythritol, and they're finding that it may lead to cardiac problems now, which is surprising for me, but this is new research coming out. Have you heard about it?
Yeah, yeah, I've seen this too. That I know they've done a lot of studies with mice, which are not humans, but they have started seeing it in humans too. It's hard to compare the two because it's, who's using erythritol. So we do have to look at studies that way too. Like, are most of the people who are using erythritol, do they already have diabetes complications, which are related to heart disease? Um, or is it the healthier people? Probably, I mean, if 93% of Americans are metabolically unwell, the people using erythritol are already metabolically unwell, meaning they already are at risk for all of these things. Am I saying that means it's okay to use erythritol? Absolutely not. I would like to see a lot more research on erythritol because, like you said, it's a sugar alcohol, and while it is found in trace amounts in fruits and vegetables, it's not something that we can just go out and gather. Like
Yeah.
sugar cane or honey or um things like that. Like monk fruit um is monk fruit, which is what I like to use. But I use real monk fruit. It's been ground into a powder. But it's brown, it's not white. The same thing with stevia. So I mean, we can also talk about that. There's so many um studies out there about the harmful effects of stevia. Well, it is harmful if it's the white powdered processed stuff because stevia is a herb. I can grow stevia out in my garden just like I grow mint and things like that. It's a green leaf. So when I am putting stevia in my food or my tea or whatever, it should not be white because those are green leaves. And so even when they dry, they're still green. Sometimes they're even brown. When I make a stevia extract, it's not clear. It's actually has a greenish brown hue to it. Now I could probably run it through another process and make it a little bit clearer, but it does have a color because it's a natural herb. Erythritol is not something that's growing out in my garden.
Great point, Jennifer. And I think that's what we're going to find that we're coming back to is it's not a natural product like we teach about. It's, and I mean, if you can't pick it from a tree or grow it, I don't recommend eating a lot of it, if any. And so it may just be a fact that it's a chemical, and if you eat too much, well, they're showing that it causes blood clots. Now, like you're saying, though, the people eating this may already be unhealthy. So I don't know. I don't recommend it as at this point because studies are still ongoing about it. Just they're trying to figure out if it's the erythritol alone or if it's the population who's eating it. So,
Right. And I think there are other safer alternatives,
oh yeah,
so even if it's questionable, there are other options. Use whole stevia, use whole monk fruit, you know, if you if you tolerate sugars, maybe honey is an option for you. Of course, if we can get away without adding any sweeteners, that's the best thing to do. A lot of people use fruit to sweeten their things. With that being said, we already said 93% of Americans are metabolically unwell, which means blood sugar is a big issue for most Americans. And so you do want to make sure that you're monitoring your blood sugar. And you can't just go along with that annual fasting glucose on your annual exam. You need to dig in a little bit further. Checking your own blood sugar, that's a super cheap, easy way to do it. Asking your doctor to run a hemoglobin A1C, which tells you how well your body's been handling sugar the last couple of months. And even asking your doctor for fasting insulin to see how your body's handling that as well. Unfortunately, the way the medical system is set up, um, they don't tell you that you have a blood sugar problem until you already have a big blood sugar problem. You're beyond the point of irreparable damage when you get to the levels that doctors start to say that you have issues. So we definitely want to watch blood sugar. And so when we think about sweeteners, what are you adding your sweeteners to? Um, so I will, I up front, I'm all about honesty and integrity, right? Those are my strong core things. So I like hot chocolate. And so I put monk fruit and monk fruit and non-dairy milk and cocoa, and that's like a regular thing for me. And so yes, it's a sweetened beverage. Mine just happens to be monk fruit, but that's usually what I put my monk fruit in. Now, can I get away without having that? Yes, I could have tea and water. It's just my comfort thing is some hot chocolate.
I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Your cocoa and it does have health benefits. So I think if it's the worst thing you're eating, Jen, you're going to be just fine.
Yeah, lots of antioxidants
Oh yeah,
and anti-inflammatories in that cocoa, as long as it's a high quality
yeah.
cocoa. Yeah.
Well, there's also evidence showing that cocoa can actually lower the blood pressure, so that's good. A lot of people have blood pressure problems now.
Yes, yes, I do. Yeah. So it's not a lot to say about erythritol.
No,
I think
just
there are other options. I know in in the 90s when a lot of the sugar alcohols came out. I mean, that's when I think keto really hit big and everybody was looking for the bars. It was like I'm thinking about protein bars, and they had all these different sugar alcohols, and they gave you major bloating and diarrhea. And so then, like erythritol came out, and it does cause some bloating for people, but it seemed to be a little bit easier for people to handle, but it's still not a natural, growing something is naturally occurring in our bodies and in fruits and vegetables, but it's not something we can just go harvest and make. And so I discourage people from purchasing erythritol.
Me too, especially now. And there's really not a lot more to say about it, but I just like to I just wanted to make it front and center for our listeners because I didn't know about it until 2 weeks ago, and it's kind of it's not been widely documented yet. So
Right. Yeah, I haven't even heard about. I mean, you just told me today
yeah,
about um all the effects, all the dangers they're finding as far as heart health and erythritol. But I do have to question the population, and I do think that further studies need to be done. In the meantime, since it is questionable, I would avoid erythritol.
yep,
Yeah. So thank you for joining us today on Jen and Dan's Natural Healing with Plants. If you enjoyed this episode, please let us know. Comment, good, bad, ugly. We want to hear from you, and we want to make sure the content that we provide is what you want to hear. So thank you for joining us, and join us again next time.